Welcome to a new season where we discover from a prophetic and messianic perspective the call and destiny that God has on our lives. I'm your host, Kim Belen. Join me as we take practical steps into a new season together. If you want to experience miracles and God's best plan for your life, then you are at the right place and at the right time. Isn't it time for a new season? Hello, everyone. This is Kim Belen, and welcome to my podcast, A New Season. Thank you for tuning in again this week. We are going to do something really fun this week. We are going to learn about Chanukah. Now, it's not one of God's appointed times, but it is a holy day that was celebrated even by Yeshua in the temple. Only in the scriptures, it was called the Feast of Dedication. I'm going to read out of the New Living Translation. And the verse is John 10:22, and it says, "It was now winter, and Yeshua was in Jerusalem at the time of Chanukah, the festival of dedication." So there's a scriptural basis for this, and I figure if Yeshua celebrated it, good enough for me. Okay, so we're going to do the story of Chanukah, guys, and I'm going to just kind of give you a simple rundown about the background. And I know a lot of you were probably like me for a lot of years where I thought it was like a Jewish Christmas, and it has nothing to do with Christmas. So we're going to learn a little bit more about it, and maybe you'll be motivated to celebrate this time yourself. Now, it was a dark time in Israel when, again, they didn't have control over their own land. And around 169 to 168 BC, Antiochus IV, who was also known as Epiphanes, ruled in Jerusalem in a really cruel manner. So he desecrated the temple openly and in mockery of the Jews and God by sacrificing a pig on the altar in honor of the false god, Baal Shaman, proclaiming himself to be God. Baal Shaman was also known throughout the Greek world as Zeus. So guys probably know that name better than Baal Shaman. Additionally, he prohibited the Jewish sacrifices and ceremonies, so there was a really huge oppression on the Israelis during this time. And they were forbidden to do any practices such as circumcision, and they weren't allowed to observe Shabbat. He did not stop there, though, and he went as far as to order the killing of any Jew possessing a copy of the Holy Scriptures, which back then would have been the Torah scrolls and any other scrolls and the writings that they had, which you guys know is the Old Testament. But they used to write them on scrolls on skins, and they hand wrote them, and they're beautiful, but it's a lot of work. So there were two kinds of Jews in Israel at the time. There were the Hellenized Jews, the ones that took in pagan practices and did the things that the society does around them, kind of like what a lot of people do now. Where we accept the customs and the things of society just because that's the way it's been done for decades, if not centuries, and we just accept that as the things that we're supposed to do. Now, not every tradition is bad, guys, but we do a lot of traditions that we think are good, and really they have a lot of pagan roots. And I'm going to hit on one. One of them is Christmas, and the other one is Easter. And Halloween, I don't even have to go there, but there are just a lot of pagan roots. And if you really want to know the roots of it, you really need to do some studying and ask the Lord, what do you need to change or what do you need to do to maybe either stop or tweak or whatever, just to make it where it is honoring more to the Lord. And then the other set of Jews were the ones that were God-fearing and honored the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses and the scriptures, and obeyed God's command. So war ended up erupting between the Syrians and the Jews, in which the brilliant Jewish military strategist, Judah Maccabee, also known as the Hammer, repeatedly defeated the Syrian armies. And so this, you can imagine, made Antiochus very angry because he was going out and doing raids and killing and really trying to push the army back so that they could have the land under the control again where they could honor the Lord. But under Judah Maccabee's leadership, Jerusalem was delivered from this cruel king in the month of Kislev, which is what we're in now. There's Hebrew months and they're different than our calendar. But right now we're in the month of Kislev, and it usually goes in through sometimes parts of November, but it usually goes through mostly the month of December that we know. And so it often coincides with that. And I've seen Hanukkah go right through Christmas time, and I've seen it go through my birthday. So it just depends on when it falls each year. Now, the Jews have celebrated this since the time of the defeat, and it's also known as the Festival of Lights, the Feast of Lights, so you'll hear different things with Chanukah. You'll also see two different spellings, one with an H, one with a CH. The CH is supposed to be more the guttural, like Chanukah, and that's how it's pronounced in the Hebrew, Chanukah. During this time of the struggle, Antiochus sent out troops from village to village with a statue of himself, ordering the people to bow down to it. One day they arrived in the village of Modim. An elderly man stepped forward to comply with the order, but an observant priest, Mattiyahu, thrust him through with a spear and also killed one of the Seleucid soldiers. Thus began the Maccabean revolt. So that is kind of how it started. Mattiyahu, his 5 sons, and others that joined him fled into the hills, and they did guerrilla warfare against the Greeks and the Syrian armies. And it's for 3 years. I mean, think about that, living back in the hills doing that. Oh my gosh. But finally, Jerusalem was liberated, yet the temple was really defiled because Antiochus had slaughtered a pig on the altar. And if you remember, pigs are not kosher, so that was a real desecration to the temple. Now, the rabbis recount the miracle of Hanukkah in these terms. They say, on Kislev 25 began the Hanukkah days, 8 of them. When the Greeks entered the temple sanctuary, they contaminated all the oil. When the Hasmoneans defeated them, they searched and found only 1 cruse of oil bearing the high priest's seal. This cruse had enough oil of only 1 day's burning, but a miracle came to pass and it lasted for 8 days. So that's why you see the 8 candles. Now, the following year, these days were declared a holiday to be celebrated with the saying of the Hallel and Thanksgiving prayers, which the Hallel prayers, or you'll see a lot of those in the Psalms. And this is the reason the Jews light 1 additional candle each night on their Chanukiah, which is the Hanukkah menorah that you see. And you might have seen some of your neighbors where they have the Hanukkah menorah, and it has 9 branches. One is taller than the other. The tallest one is for the shamash candle. Shamash means servant, so it's the servant candle that lights all the other candles. To me, the miracle of Hanukkah wasn't that the oil lasted for 8 days. Now, that is tradition. A lot of people state it as fact now, but it's tradition, and so I'm not sure exactly if it's the actual facts or not, but knowing the Lord, it wouldn't surprise me a bit that that oil lasted for 8 days, because that just sounds like something the Lord would do. But during the month of Kislev, on the 25th is when it starts. And of course, with every Jewish day on the calendar, the days start in the evening. So in the evening and the morning were the first day. So you start at night, but right after nightfall, once it's dark outside, aside for Friday afternoon when the candles are lit shortly before sunset because of the Shabbat, all 8 Hanukkah lights need to be lined up on the same level, but the shamash candle must be separate. And so that's the serving candle I talked about. Now, some people put the menorah in a doorway opposite the mezuzah. The mezuzah is on some of the homes. You'll see it in synagogues, on homes where they have this little long, sometimes it's ornate and decorated. There's scriptures behind it. Sid Ross has some that has names of people that to pray for, but those are on the doorway. And when you come in, you touch the mezuzah and then you kiss it. Sometimes they put the menorah across from that, and sometimes you'll see the menorahs put in the windows, just because it is to commemorate the Festival of Lights and the celebration of the victory over the Greek and Syrian armies. Now, we place the candles on the menorah from right to left. This is tradition again, too, but we light the candles from left to right. Again, tradition, guys. So, but you know what? It's fun tradition. So it's, and it's not a bad tradition. So I say do it. And so on the first night, we light 1 candle on the right side. On the second night, we light the new candle first, and then starting from the left and moving to the right. We continue doing this every night until all 8 candles are lit. You add 1 each night until the 8th night. And then you got this big blazing menorah at the end. So it's always pretty. And the Hanukkah candles cannot be used to light each other, which is why we use the shamash candle to light the menorah. It's not one of the 8 Hanukkah candles, so we set it in a place above the rest. The lights of the Hanukkah candles are special only for looking at, not for using, and then the candles burn all the way through. It is good for the eyes and the soul, and I say yes. When they light the candles, this is the blessings that they say. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to light the Hanukkah lights. Now the blessing for Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'esa nisim la'avotenu bayamim hachem b'zman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our ancestors in those days at this time. Amen. And during the first candle lighting, this prayer is said, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this season. Amen. And there's also some traditions for Hanukkah, guys, for commemorate the oil and how the oil was supposed to have lasted for 8 days. We make a lot of times latkes, and those are like potato-type pancakes. Oh, man, I love mine with sour cream. Some people use applesauce, but I'm sorry. I can't handle applesauce and potatoes. That's just not me. I make my latkes, and I put sour cream on mine. And no, it's not, guys, we're in the holidays. Okay, come on. We're not doing diet things here. If you gain a little weight during the holidays, yeah. But some of the traditions, like I said, are the potato pancakes, which we call latkes. Sometimes you'll hear people say latkes. And then there's other ones that are like Israeli donuts. There's just a lot of different traditional foods that are just, fun, just like we have on our other holy days and our other holidays. We have traditional things like, for Thanksgiving, a lot of times people have turkeys or whatever they use for their traditional food. So the same thing with Hanukkah, there's traditional foods. And then the dreidel, you'll see the dreidel, which is a little kind of top, only has like 4 sides, and it has 4 Hebrew letters around it. And the one is Nun, and one is Gimel, and one is Hey, and one is Shin. And it means Nes Gadol Haya Sham, which means a great miracle happened there. Now, if you're in Israel, it's Nes Gadol Haya Po, which means a great miracle happened here. But since we're out of Israel, it's Nes Gadol Haya Sham, a great miracle happened there. And so when people play dreidel, and there's rules to it, and there's traditionalist stuff called gelt. It looks like gold coins, only there's chocolate in it. So, you play with the gelt, and you eat the gelt, and eventually the gelt's gone. But one of the stories I heard was when the Jews were reading the Torah scrolls, and they were forbidden to do so, that they would play dreidel as a cover-up. So they would have somebody watching, and someone say, they're coming, and they would put the scrolls away and put the dreidel out, and they would pretending they were gambling. And so they did that. When they're gone, they brought the Torah scrolls out again. Yeah, so that's one story. That's kind of a fun story. But the dreidel is just a fun thing, and you'll see them in shapes, sizes, plastic, wood, everything else in between, metal. I mean, there's some pretty ornate dreidels. But it's just a fun time. And then in a traditional Jewish home, they usually will exchange gifts. And some homes will do it just on the first night. Others will do it on all 8 nights, where the kids get 8 gifts. And some of the kids at Christmas time going, oh, yeah, I want 8 gifts. I want to celebrate Hanukkah. But it is just a really wonderful time of year, guys. I love Hanukkah. It's one of my favorite festival times to celebrate. I love it just because it was most likely during this time of year that Yeshua was conceived, because he said he was the light of the world. And Hanukkah is the festival of lights. And so Yeshua was probably conceived during this time, and he was probably born during the time of Sukkot, which is the fall festivals. No matter which way you look at it, Yeshua came one way or another, and so we just praise God for that. They have also some traditional songs, too, that they're sung, and you probably have heard some. I would like to encourage you guys, check out the Maccabees. They are awesome. Some guys that do like a cappella type stuff, but to check them out and look at it's Maccabees. I think it's Maccabeats, if I remember correctly. And look at their Hanukkah songs. They have videos and everything else, and they're funny, and they tell the story when they're doing the music and everything. They've done things for Passover. They've done things for the holy days, and so it's just fun to watch them. They've gotten pretty popular over the years too. I hope that gave you a little bit more information about what Hanukkah is about, why we celebrate it, why Yeshua was in the temple honoring and celebrating it. And, a rabbi told me one time that they had like a 70-foot menorah in Jerusalem during that time, and they lit it. So my first question is, how in the heck did they get up there? It's probably a ladder, ropes, I don't know. I mean, like trapeze, who knows? I guess they saw that menorah throughout all of Jerusalem. So can you imagine that, guys? 70 feet, man, that would have been so cool. I encourage you to go online and just see some of the different things that you can do for Hanukkah. There's a lot of Messianic sites that have the stories and some traditions from a Messianic perspective, which I encourage you more to do that. And try some of the recipes. There's some recipes online. You just put in Hanukkah recipes. You're going to find a bunch of stuff. And it's fun. And, maybe you try something. You might find out you like it. Try it. You like it. And enjoy this festival time. We've got a lot going on with the Messiah's birth holiday and then Hanukkah. And, we've got things coming up in the first part of the year, too. So stay tuned, guys. I'll try to share about the holy days and the festivals and give you some ideas and, just let you know about what we're doing and why we celebrate it and why it's fun to celebrate it and why we as believers especially need to do things, because everything points to Yeshua anyway. I just want to sing a little song for you. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, we'll give you a treat. Sivivon to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. And on that note, guys, bless you. Have an awesome week. And I'm just going to bless you in the name of Yeshua. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ye'er Adonai panav alecha v'chonecha. Yisa Adonai panav alecha v'yasim lacha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, give you mercy, give you celebration, give you joy. May you enjoy this time that God has for you in this holiday season. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Bless you, and we'll see you next week. Shalom. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of A New Season. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter, or visit my website at kimbolen.com. Join us next week as we continue to pursue our dreams and discover our destiny. It's time to enter into a new season.